Yeah, good morning. My opening post just says it all. Kier Starmer is a W and he's a C. For doing this, he is a weak Prime Minister. Everyone agrees with that. He's a weak Prime Minister, can't even hold his own party together. And to appease the left in his party, he's gone and recognised a bunch of terrorists. I've put a link as a post. Even the Palestinian Authority has links to this campaign of terror. Let me explain once again what the status of this land is until from around 1524 to 1917. This land was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. So it was part of the Ottoman Empire, and if you want it returning to the Ottoman Empire, you're going to have to return Iraq, Syria, all the rest of it. And then after the First World War, the victorious powers, including the United States, agreed to the mandate for Palestine, which was to create a Jewish homeland. And this is where the lie that there was a country called Palestine comes from. Once again, the British were extremely snide in the way they dealt with this. They should have actually just called it the Mandate for Israel, which is what the Jewish side wanted. Now, whatever you think about that period, it was then ratified by the UN. The UN proposed a partition plan of the remainder of the mandate. And in that partition plan, there was no mention of a West Bank. The West Bank was named by the Jordanians. So now we've got a situation where Israel agreed to peace and a second partition of the mandate. The Arabs did not agree. Let me explain what the Arabs did. Now, some of the inhabitants in the British Mandate and invading Arab armies attacked the state of Israel. And Israel won the War of Independence. Yeah. Also, the areas known as Judea, Samaria, West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. They were the armistice lines of 1967. Before 1967, Egypt administered the Gaza Strip, and I actually think should administer it, although they won't. And Jordan annexed what it called the West Bank. So now we have a situation where the people living in the Gaza Strip and Judea and Samaria will not accept peace with Israel. The PLO's charter, which was changed in 1994, is that they will recognize the right of Israel to exist. Well, 1994, some of you weren't even born in 1994. The Arabs have consistently shown that they do not want peace. And now, he's a lawyer. He should know better. Kier Starmer is now saying, I want to support a two-state solution. Well, you're just rewarded Hamas. You've just rewarded the fact that Israel pulled all its settlements out of the Gaza Strip in the mid-2000s. And then what happened? Did we have a prosperous little resort where, they start to want peace with Israel? No. They built tunnels. They started training their children to hate Jews, things like that. Kier Starmer is a complete and utter piece of you-know-what for doing this. It's a disgrace. And thank God for President Trump. Now, let me again explain your beloved United Nations, where this was decided at Yalta and the Tehran conferences, is that the Americans and the Russians actually decided to form the United Nations. It gave the United States the power of veto. And basically the Americans will use their power of veto for this nonsense. You cannot recognize a Palestinian state when the Palestinians don't recognize Israel's right to exist. It's that simple. It's that patently simple. And the trouble is now is that our leftist schools, our leftist teachers, and our leftist politicians are basically throwing Israel under the bus. They are literally throwing Israel under the bus. Now, the two-state solution involves Israel voluntarily giving up its claim to Judea, Samaria, and Gaza Strip in return for peace, the so-called land for peace. Well, peace was offered with the Arabs in 2008. They rejected it again. Arafat, you look up this on Google. Arafat admitted to Hillary Clinton that he did not want to accept the 1994 Accords because he knew he would be killed. This is a complex situation. The lands which we are talking about, Gaza, Judea, Samaria, otherwise known as the West Bank, are legally part of the mandate. And this has not been settled since the First and Second World Wars and the United Nations. The land is disputed. Let me finish with one other thing. When Israel took over administration of Judea and Samaria and Gaza, the Prime Minister of Israel said a very legal and important thing, that they would give it back if they had another country to give them back to. These countries were not these two territories were not seized off another country. They were originally part of the mandate. Now, long live Israel, and Israel high, and long live the United States, who are going to veto this nonsense. But the trouble now is that you've just legitimized terrorism, Kier Starmer. And that's why I've used the C word. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep it as the C word, but we know what the C word is. The C word is what the Americans do to put a man down. You're a weak prime minister. Resign now. Well, actually don't, because otherwise we'll have Andy Burnham as prime minister. And then it's time to leave the country. Well, it is time to leave the country now. I am for peace. I am through peace, through strength. I support Israel's borders as they are at the moment, and I actually think the two-state solution ship has passed a long time ago. Have a good day.